Hey guys, what is up? It's BEC Plumbing. Today, I'm going to show you how to replace a wall-hung toilet. Alright, so this is what you're going to need. In the event, now you may not need this, in the event that the toilet you replace has a wax ring, which many wall mount toilets do, particularly on older installations, you're going to need a putty knife. You're going to need some sort of wrench for taking the tank bolts off. However, you can also use this. You're going to need a wrench probably about this size to take the nuts off the toilet. You're going to need a knife to cut away the caulk sealant, because a lot of them are caulked to the wall. And you're going to need a gasket to put on the new toilet. But first, I'm going to show you how to turn off. You want to turn the water off to the toilet. You want to flush the old toilet to get all the water out of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the caulk sealant on the toilet away. I'm going to make sure I cut this off just so it's easy to pull the toilet. Now you're going to want a bucket and you want to soak the water out of the tank until the tank is mostly dry. This is how I like to do it, but you can use a towel or even a small cup to get as much as this out. There's also a pump that they make to where you can pump the water out. It's another thing they make for this. So yeah, just want to keep soaking the water out of the tank until it's all out. Now I'm going to show you a very quick way to get all of the water out of the bowl. Just fill a water bucket up with water. And then pour it in the bowl. And that will get almost all the water out. Now you can spill a little bit as I did here, and I'll clean that up in just a moment. In addition, I do want to say, if there's a little bit of water in the bowl like this, that's not that big of a deal. It won't spill out just as long as you hold the bowl upright while being removed. But now, I'm going to get to the next part, which is disconnect the supply line. You want to basically put a wrench up to the supply line and turn it this way to get it off. And it comes off pretty easily. Another thing I want to say is if a wall mount toilet has 4 bolts on the wall like this, any wall mount with 4 bolts you get in a tank will work. The carrier pattern is standardized. The carrier pattern is 100% standardized. So it doesn't matter whether it's a brand new wall hung toilet or a 50-year-old wall hung toilet. It will fit either way because the carrier pattern is standardized. Now, what you want to do is, this is the way I like to do it. However, this is completely optional. You do not have to do this. I like to pull the toilet tank off because I find it makes this removing the toilet easier. And you don't even have to take these 100% off by a wrench. You just have to get them loose with a wrench. And you can take them the rest of the way off by hand. Sometimes they have a little bit of problems getting off completely, as they sometimes got to be just taken off a little bit of the way by a wrench, as you can see here. But yeah, just got to break them loose with a wrench, and I'll do that on the other side. All right, I got the tank bolts off. And you remove the tank just by lifting it up like that. Comes off that easily. And also, you can dump any remaining water out of the tank into the sink. So, yeah. And unfortunately, when I was propping the camera up with, which was just a little thing right here, fell over. And now I'm going to show you how to remove the bowl. Removing the bowl is not that difficult. Like I said, you just want to cut the caulk, cut around the bowl just to make sure any caulk has been cut off. Sometimes I still recommend, even if you can't see any caulk, I still highly recommend doing it. And you remove the nuts by turning them, you turn them counterclockwise to remove them. What I recommend is that you take the bottom two nuts off first. I recommend you take the bottom two nuts off first. This way, it's pretty easy to get the toilet off. That's what I find to be the easiest way to get the toilet off. Now, I'm gonna prop the camera up. Just gotta find something to prop it up against. I'm gonna use just let me find something. I'll use this. I suppose this works. Prop it up against because it's heavy. Nope, maybe not. Let me find something else. Maybe this can be used to just hold it up. Hold on. I'm gonna prop it up against something nice, so that way you can see kind of what I'm doing, so you know how to do this. I don't really have a good tripod, unfortunately, so it's kind of hard to do this. Yeah. All right. You want to hold the toilet kind of like this. Just put your knees kind of in between the toilet like this, so that the toilet does not fall over. Just want to take the bolts off. Now sometimes the caulk's not fully cut away like this, so getting it off may be kind of difficult. But just kind of rock the toilet back and forth like that to break the sealant, and then it comes right off like that. And then this exposes the drain flange, which that's kind of what it looks like. Usually they stick a tiny bit further out than this, but this one's just kind of short, and so yeah. All right, so now on your new toilet, you want to go get the seal for your new toilet, and make sure whatever seal you put on it, I'm using the Corky wax-free gasket. Yes, it does work on wall mount toilets because it is rubber, and most rubber seals will work on wall mount toilets. I generally recommend using the neoprene seal. However, make sure whatever seal you use, it just sticks out a tiny bit, because that'll make sure it gets the most seal. Because my drain flange is kind of short, and I just want to make sure that seal is compressed as much as possible. In addition, just to make this look as nice as possible, I'm gonna try to get rid of as much of this caulk seal as I can. I'm sure there's a better way of doing it than this, but this is the way I'm doing it, just to make things look a bit nicer. I'm sure there's a way better way of doing it than this, but this is the way I'm doing it. Just scraping it up with a knife. There's Again, there's probably a way better way to do this, but this is just the way I'm doing it. Oh, and I'm sorry for holding the camera sideways, but I just realized I was holding my camera sideways. Again, there's probably a way better way of doing this. But this gets the job done, so I don't care. I find this is, yeah, I got this off pretty much as I want to get it off, but I'm gonna try to get as much of it as I can off. Just, I don't want it kind of to be, I want there to be as little outlining as possible when I put my toilet in, which is gonna be my 1964 Kohler Cayuga. All right, so once you got your new toilet ready, just make sure there's nothing in the way of putting it on. And then you want to just put the new toilet on the carrier like this. And you want to take the top two nuts and put the top two on first. That's the easiest way to do it, because that way you don't have to hold the toilet up while you're tightening it. In addition, if the bolts are too long or too short, which they can be adjusted, you can either, one thing, the carrier bolts are adjustable, and they can be adjusted shorter. But if you're having trouble doing that, you can also get retrofit cap nuts, or you can get 5/8 11 nuts from the hardware store and get washers and just put those on. I've done that before when they were too long, so yeah. So you want to just start them off by hand. You don't want to get them as tight as you can get them by hand, and then just, they don't need to be super tight, just snug them down. They don't need to be super tight. That's probably tight enough. And then you want to tighten them by opposing corners. That'll make sure they're tightened evenly. Again, they don't need to be super tight. You can always go back and snug them up if they're not tight enough, because it's not worth the risk of tightening them too much and cracking the toilet. Because I have seen that happen before, where people tighten it too much and they actually crack the toilet. So you don't need to tighten these much. Now I'm going to put the toilet tank on. So the toilet tank just goes on. I'm going to sit it right here, just make sure all the seals are good. Going to make sure everything's working right. And then just put the toilet tank on like that. Now what you want to do is get your tools to tighten the tank down. And make sure again that you don't tighten the tank unevenly, don't tighten these bolts just like with the wall bolts. Tighten the tank bolts sequentially and do not over tighten, because you can potentially crack everything. I'm going to tighten this one just a little bit, and then I'm going to get the second one. Now, a lot of people tell you not to use a wrench to tighten these. Some people do. However, you do need to tighten it at least a little bit with a wrench, because every time I've gone only hand tight, they pretty much always leak. Now I'm trying to ensure they're level. This is a Kohler, and it takes a Kohler gasket system, which these can be a total pain in the butt. As I've done, I like to push down on the bolts, push them down as far as I can, because these Kohler gaskets, if the chain is not already attached, which I think it came off, just attach the chain. And so, in this case, this is an older Kohler wall mount, which means one of the bolts is in the back, and it can only be tightened from inside the tank, which I will show you how to do that if you have one of these older Kohler wall mount toilets and say you need to either fix it or maybe even take the tank off or tighten the tank on. A lot of people think these older Kohler wall mount toilets, you have to put the tank on before you put the toilet on, or you have to take the toilet off with the tank still attached. That is not true. The nut on the back is a specific nut for this toilet that you actually tighten it and remove it from inside the tank. I've done this many times before. I've seen I have two of these Kohler Cayuga wall mount toilets now. I've never seen a Wellesley wall mount, but I'm sure it's pretty much the same thing. So now that you got them snugged up by hand, you want to just tighten them a little bit. You just want to tighten them, and again, sequentially. Do not tighten one all the way and just tighten the other one all the way. So I'm going to tighten these little by little, sequentially. Just little by little. Now, these don't need to be super tight, generally speaking. I like to have them decently tight, so that way. And with these Kohlers, it's important to tighten them sequentially, because I have seen it before where you tighten one bolt all the way and it doesn't compress the third bolt or one of the three bolts enough, and you get leaks. So I got these all pretty tight. So now I'm going to attach the supply line. Now these supply lines can be kind of a pain in the butt to get on. This one's being kind of a pain to get on, but it's partially because I'm right-handed and trying to use my left hand to get the supply line on. Now it's a lot easier. But yeah, now I'll get my wrench and I'll just snug the supply line up. And also do note, I don't think any wall mount toilet on the market today, because they have a lot on the market today, like I have another, because like they make the American Standard, Glenwall, Vormax, they have ProFlow makes a wall mount toilet like this. And like I said, a brand new wall mount toilet will fit on a 50-year-old Carrier, and a 50-year-old wall mount will fit on a brand new Carrier, because this house I live in right now is brand new. Like, this is a brand new house. Just put an old toilet on because I wanted to. Now you want to turn the water on. Just let the toilet fill. I believe today they have the Mansfield Quantum Pressure Assist wall mount as an option. They have the Gerber Maxwell wall mount, the American Standard Glen wall. They also have the Gerber Ultra Flush Pressure Assist, and I think ProFlow. Yeah, ProFlow makes a wall mount. But yeah, the most popular from what I've seen is the American Standard Glen wall. However, the Gerber Maxwell I have seen in person as well, and I've seen several others in person, as I have a Mansfield Quantum too that was originally in this bathroom, but I wanted to put my vintage wall mounts in. And I do still have the Mansfield Quantum. It's just in storage, and it is a very good toilet, but however, these vintage wall mounts are far better. So yeah, and if you don't have a seat, you need to buy a seat, which I do have a seat, and I will show you how to put that on in just a minute. All right, so now once the tank fills up, we are a bit above the water line, but you want to flush the toilet and check for any leaks anywhere, like around the tank. And you want to check around here, which it's pretty dry, so there are no leaks. It's pretty dry, so there aren't any leaks. One thing that really helps for checking leaks around here is a flashlight, and that's just residual caulk. That's not any water. So yeah, just get a flashlight and just check for leaks, but we don't have any, so yeah. And check for any leaks around here, and if it is leaking around here, it can typically be fixed by just tightening the tank bolts. However, typically when the tank gets full, I just give it a few extra turns, just a little bit, and just tighten the tank just a little bit. You don't need to tighten it much, just to ensure that it's watertight. Yeah, just check for any leaks around, and you can caulk around the toilet. I'm not going to, because I don't generally do that, but I have done it in the past. But if you do caulk around the toilet, you want to leave the bottom part of it uncaulked. That way you can see any leaks if it leaks. So yeah, putting the seat on is incredibly simple. All you gotta do is line these up. You want to make sure those are open, and you put the bolts on. Typically, all you need for the seat is a screwdriver. In addition, if your toilet is above the water line, I'd recommend setting it to where it's not. Mine is a little bit above it, but I don't really care that much. Just want to tighten the seat down with a screwdriver. Now all you want to do is put the tank lid on. And there you have it. Not rocket science, pretty easy. So yeah.